All right, Mayor. Magic hour is here. It looks like you got all of your council members and your clerk and your city attorney. You're ready to go.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Why don't we go ahead and call our meeting to order? And this evening, Karen, could I ask you to lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure.
And stand for a moment of silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands for one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Sure.
Well, since our electronic roll call has been done, we can dispense with item 2 on the agenda. Item 3 on the agenda, approval of minutes. Each of you should have received a copy of our last minutes. If you have any questions or additions, be glad to hear those. Or a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Willow. And who is that? I'm sorry.
Second, Mayor.
Thank you, Greg. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Minutes are approved. Item 4, receipt of check register. If you could indicate if you've received our latest version of the check register. Thank you all. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments tonight? I'm unaware of any. Devin, were you aware of any?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Just a handful of mayor's comments with some dates, especially to give everybody. First one that you've all been getting questions about, because we all do this time of year, would be when do we want to do trick or treat? That is a really popular question. I should have had that on your agenda for the last meeting, and we could have had an easier time for the last 2 weeks. We would recommend that we keep trick or treat actually on Halloween the 31st. We've learned in the past that when we try to go to other evenings, it just creates so much confusion that it just rarely works out very well. So we would recommend that you set it on the 31st from 6 to 8.
Mayor, do you need a motion on
Please.
doing that?
Yeah, please.
Just a comment before I make a motion. I'm going to support that. But I was reluctant a little bit of moving it, because to move it off, I needed to move it off because it's on church night. But I know a lot of the churches that now they do trunk or treat, and so many churches do that. And I know a lot of them are already thinking about doing it on that night. So it works out well, even if it's on a Sunday night. So I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I second it.
Thank you, Todd. Motion's been made and seconded. If there are no questions, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Related to that, we'll have, it's not our event, but Spooktacular will happen on the 29th from 11 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And if you happen to be downtown or work downtown, that one is a lot of fun. Let's see. Just, I'm sorry.
We lost our clerk for a minute. Could you tell me who made the motion and the second on that, and I'll write it down.
Yes.
Karen
Todd,
and
Karen and
And
Todd.
thank you.
Mhm. Your fire parade will occur on 10/21. It's always kind of a fun event. And excuse me, fire departments do a really good job with it. If you'd like to ride on a fire truck, I'm sure the chief could arrange that for you. Also, Super Recycling Day out at Toyota is the 16th of this month before we meet again. That's 9 to 2 that day. Really easy way to get rid of all the ugly stuff in your garage. We're kind of right in the middle of our inaugural tree week here in Georgetown. Tree week runs from the 9th through the 16th. We had a nice event down at Royal Spring Park where some of the committee that's worked together on Tree Week planted a dogwood tree. There's another tree to be planted at UCO Inn. Library is having some events, and so it's Tree Week, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Wanted just to mention during our council meeting a special thanks to Patty Burnside and the library for their hospitality in letting us meet there. We'll probably use them again, but certainly do thank them for making us feel welcome out there. The group of 45 individuals in Georgetown and Scott County that will be going through an exercise called Working Undivided will start their work tomorrow night. A 6-week program of work, and representing the city team, I will participate. Andrew, Devin, Tammy is going to participate. Chief Bossy is going to participate as a member of the city team. And we're fortunate that Willow will participate as a member of the coalition. So actually the city will have a 6-person team, or 6 people with interest tied to the city, a 6-person team of working with that program, and collectively they can report back to you at some appropriate time. Also, just to kind of keep it on your radar screen, I am not prepared to bring the presentation concerning gross receipts tax and how it relates to net profits tax to the council tonight. But it's our expectation that we be able to by the next meeting. So hopefully we'll be prepared to do that, and might even consider, not certain on this, but might even consider doing that in the format of a special meeting, given the complexity of the conversation. We also, just to put a period at the end of a long wait to celebrate the 30th anniversary of our sister city relationship with Tahara. That was supposed to happen in 2020. And of course, there was no travel and no way to do that. We put it off until this year with the hope that perhaps it could happen a year later. Realizing now that travel is impossible this year, we went ahead, and this last week we've had a international Zoom celebration. We packed as much joy into a Zoom meeting as we possibly could, but we did acknowledge our 30-year relationship and restated our intentions to maintain the relationship. So that did happen this past week. Okay, and that is all of the mayor comments that I have. Item 7 on your agenda under GMWSS, Chase.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 5 purchase orders for council consideration tonight. Our first is for Herrick Company in the amount of $10,200 for a replacement of a 10-inch valve at our Cherry Blossom wastewater pump station. This is a budgeted replacement, and we did reach out for quotes, Herrick being the low. Second is a purchase order for S4 water sales in the amount of $18,555. This purchase is for rehab of our filtration media at the water treatment plant at Royal Spring. This is a sole source service included as a budget item in our current FY22 budget. We completed a filter media assessment last year, and this is the work recommended out of that assessment for completion at the water plant. We have another purchase order for Herrick Company in the amount of $25,900. This is an emergency repair for an aerator gearbox at wastewater plant 1. These are the types of repairs we're trying to avoid in the next 2.5 years, but this one we cannot avoid. We have to do a complete rebuild of this gearbox. So because this is, it does need to be completed ASAP. We didn't go shopping for quotes. Every day that this aerator is out of service, we risk regulatory violations of our discharge permit from Division of Water. Next, we have a purchase order for Evoqua Water Technologies in the amount of $48,645. This is for purchase of our activated carbon change out at wastewater plant 2. This is a budget item, and it is a sole source purchase. And finally, a purchase order for Judy Construction in the amount of $1,055,592.62, and that is for work completed on the wastewater treatment plant number 1 upgrade and expansion during the month of September. So I'm happy to take any questions at this time from council regarding these purchase orders.
Sounds good. If there are questions for Chase, wonderful. If not, I would accept a motion to accept all of those at one time.
Motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Connie.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. I'll still give you time for questions for Chase if you like. Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And are there any opposed? Okay, those passed. Thank you, Chase. Do you have anything else for us tonight?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Item 8 on the agenda under building inspection is a municipal order approving items for surplus. I don't think there's much very exciting on there, but and I would accept a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Ella.
Second.
Thanks, Tammy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Okay, that is approved. Item 9 on your agenda similarly is an MO approving items for surplus from the cemetery. And
Motion.
Motion, and Tammy, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Connie. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Are there any opposed? Good, that passes. Item 10 on your agenda is second reading of the budget ordinance. And I'll let the clerk do these exciting summaries of budget ordinances for you.
An ordinance amending the annual budget ordinance for fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. Summary, general fund. Prior year revenues are increased by $515,507. Federal grant revenue is decreased by $1,750,000. Transfers from other funds are increased by $1,750,000. General government expenses are increased by $320,000. Police expenses are increased by $22,690. Fire expenses are decreased by $91,944. Public Works expenses are increased by $2,575. Engineering expenses are increased by $103,925. Transfers to other funds are increased by $158,261. Grant fund. Prior year revenues are decreased by $2,000. CDBG CV revenue is increased by $200,000. CDBG revenue is decreased by $92,000. Federal grant revenue is decreased by $416,849.55. Police expenses are increased by $121,893. Fire expenses are increased by $128,094. Community service expenses are decreased by $560,836.55. ARPA fund, new. American Rescue Plan Act revenue is increased by $4,530,746.73. Other revenues are increased by $1,781.25. Police expenses are increased by $140,000. Stormwater expenses are increased by $903,562.50. Transfers to other funds are increased by $1,750,000. Environmental Services Fund. Stormwater expenses are increased by $155,261. Transfer from other funds are increased by $155,261. Cemetery Fund. Intergovernmental revenues are increased by $3,000. Transfers from other funds are increased by $3,000. Cemetery expenses are increased by $6,000. Capital Projects Fund. Prior year revenues are decreased by $2,159.45. Loan proceeds are increased by $23,540,000. Capital expenses are increased by $23,537,840.55. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 100 North Court Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Publicly introduced and read for the first time October 27th, 2021. Publicly read the second time October 11th, 2021.
Motion, Mayor.
Had to unmute myself, Connie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion's been made, and is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is that David?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. For some reason, a few moments ago, you were on the lower part of the screen, and now you're on the upper row of the screen. So when that happens, it just throws me for a second, David. Motion's been made and seconded. Tracy, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Showalter,
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames,
No.
Mrs. Lesby Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Lesby,
Yes.
Mr. Hampton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hambrick.
yes,
Passes 7-1.
7-1. Thank you. Next item of business under city engineer, we have a series of municipal orders. The first has to do, and I'm not sure, is Eddie on with us tonight?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. Yeah.
If you would like, with your permission, I'll just run through these four real quick.
Would you please?
Yes, sir. So the first item is municipal order with a contract with Strand Associates for MS4 Stormwater Engineering Services. This is a renewal of a contract that the city has had with Strand for a number of years. It was not eligible to renew the contract, so we went out for proposals, and they were the highest scoring firm. The second one is a municipal order for a contract with Leak Eliminators for stormwater CCTV and cleaning. What this is an inspection service, and it's also a renewal of a contract that that leak eliminators previously had that was not eligible for a renewal. And so we went out for RFPs on that one as well, and they were the highest scoring firm. The third one is a municipal order for the purchase of a property located at 514 South Broadway Street. And I would probably turn that over to the mayor to discuss in more detail, or David or the council. And then the other one is a resolution approving a sidewalk repair cost sharing program, which is something that I would ask Devin to share a little bit more information on.
Okay, thank you, Eddie.
Yes, sir.
Are there, let's see.
Mayor, I can talk about the sidewalk one real quick. I know we've been talking about this issue quite a bit, and Eddie and I both have worked with precision concrete cutting. We talked about that different methodology, and that's going to require a more in-depth analysis by that company. So that's more of a long-term project. In the short term, however, Eddie's got a great inventory of sidewalks that are dangerous and non-compliant with our code. So the idea would be that council allocates $100,000, which we assume can be ARPA funded. We always add the caveat, you know, as long as it fits when the guidelines come out, the final guidelines. But we would allocate $100,000 and we would share on a 50% basis these repairs with, we would reach out to the most egregious offenders to start out so we could remedy those safety issues. So that's where this program starts. We've got draft guidelines in your packet. Those are not final yet. We're going to add some more information about, you know, what makes a sidewalk dangerous or non-compliant. But beyond that, we'd provide for requirements for how the process goes when the property owner makes payment to the city, which would be before the work is conducted. So this is just kind of a scratching the surface on addressing a bigger issue. I think that generally covers
Devin,
it.
it's a 50-50 split, right?
Right.
Property owner. Okay.
Yeah, we felt that with the number of code violations that exist with sidewalks, that rather than make that many citizens unhappy at one time, we should at least have a program to ease that burden just a little bit. And we can approach this en masse. It's our hope that we'll exhaust these funds pretty quickly and have to come back to you and renew this program. Our problem is that big, and hopefully we can help kickstart what is actually a homeowner's responsibility. And I'm happy. Yes, I'm sorry.
Do you want us to make a motion on these individually? I know they're all kind of, you know, somewhat separate items.
They're kind of a mismatch, David. I think that'd be a good approach. Why don't we first take the municipal order approving the Strand MS4 engineering services?
I'll go ahead and make a motion for approval on that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second, Mayor.
Second, Mark, thank you. If there are no further questions on that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The municipal order for leak eliminators. I really have enjoyed seeing those trucks all over town because whenever we see them, I know we're cutting down on infiltration from stormwater into our sanitary sewer system. It's a positive thing. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion, Mayor.
Thank you. And second for Todd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's approved. Next is an MO approving the purchase of 514 South Broadway. Is there a motion for approval?
I'd make a motion, Mayor, for approval.
Second.
Thank you. And Willow, thank you.
I had a question here.
Yes, sir.
Before we vote on this one, can I ask a quick question?
Certainly.
If we move forward with this, on this item that we're getting ready to vote on, and determine, hopefully there's nothing wrong with the structural integrity of that home, but do we have a kick out if there's a serious issue. After, I guess, are we going to do an inspection of the home at all, or is it?
We're just, no, sir, Mark, there is no kick out. We're simply buying the property for the
As
amount of the municipal order. And believe we have a need for it under either scenario. But it's a great question. Thank you. I'm happy to answer that.
Yeah. Mayor, I don't mind to make if you don't mind, can I make a quick comment or two just to
Please.
share with the council? At least from my perspective, we've been involved with buying some other properties. Obviously, we bought the property that's contiguous to this. It's right on the corner. And I guess, at least from my perspective, my thought is that they kind of go hand in hand, and that if we're going to do some stormwater improvements in that area, we'd have the additional property to make those improvements. On top of that, it gives us an opportunity to clean up, a pretty blighted piece of property that we've had a lot of issues with code enforcement. We've had other issues that are unbecoming to the city of Georgetown. Potentially, the house could service some office space, if and when needed. We remodel City Hall, we could, move some folks perhaps in there. If not, if the property has to come down, from my perspective, I'm still good with it. It's a nice piece of real estate, obviously connected to a school, and like I said, contiguous to our other piece of property. So to me, I'm very bullish on acquiring this piece of property, and maybe letting Public Works go in. If there's demo that needs to be done, maybe we let them do the demo work, and then bring in somebody else that's got more expertise to evaluate the house, and determine if we need to change the layout, what needs to be done to make office space, or if it just needs to come down. But the bottom line for me is I'm good with it either way, whether we keep the house or not. And that's such a nice corridor coming into town. I see it as a great opportunity to make a nice improvement.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Mayor, I have a couple. How much is the city paying for the piece of property?
$250,000.
Okay. And so we don't have a real planned use for it. Listen to David talk. We don't have a real planned use for it as of yet.
And I do know from Eddie's evaluation that the rear portion of the lot does have value as additional space for stormwater features because of our adjoining lot. So we know that we have stormwater value regardless, and that's our primary purpose for acquiring it.
Did we ask about acquiring just the back portion and not the house itself?
That was
I don't know that was ever a consideration of the, no, ma'am.
Okay. And so since there's a stormwater related to it, then can it be paid with the ARPA money?
We believe that at least part of it can. And again, subject to further guidance. But we think both potentially both this purchase, or at least the lion's share of it, a portion of it, and some of the costs to make this a very attractive stormwater feature to probably our most acute flooding area is right there on South Broadway. We think this will fold into what is the ultimate solution that fixes it completely.
Well, I'm inclined to have the back acreage to help with the stormwater, but I'm not inclined for the city to buy a house. I know they've let it fall apart, but it's potentially either an old historic house or that could possibly be fixed up, or we're going to tear it down. And I hate to do that. And if we fix it up, we don't have the money to, we'll be back into a money pit like Cardome is or has been for us. So I don't think I'm going to vote in favor of it at this time. But
okay. I just would point out that the scale of this essentially single family home is vastly different than that of Cardome. But your point's well taken. Thank you.
Yeah, Karen, I would too. I've got to echo the sentiment from the mayor. I mean, we were losing $600,000 a year on Cardone each and every year. 10 years is $10 million. I mean, once we go in and evaluate this home, we're going to make a determination on what we need to do.
Well, I hate
And
to see it being torn down, and our evaluation would probably be to tear it down. And I hate for us to tear down an old historic home that maybe at that price somebody was putting things on the market these days. If we bought the back off of it and let the front of it, maybe somebody would pick it up and give them the money that they're looking for and fix it up. But I'm afraid we get into it and then we'll want to fix it up, and then it'll cost us so much. If we're going to fix up something, we need to fix up City Hall. So.
Well, we do. But anyway, this, hey, listen, if that's the direction you want to go, I don't have any problem with it. I mean, it can be 7-1 as far as I care, but I think this is an opportunity for us. I really do. I wouldn't want just the back of the property without having the front. I think having the front is pretty critical. And, if we wanted to sell it, that's the other nice thing about a piece of real estate like this. I mean, we could absolutely sell this piece of property in the future. We could put in place the easements that are necessary. We've done that on Broadway before. We've bought other property on Broadway, spent more money on other houses on Broadway. We put in the easements that were needed. We dealt with the stormwater, and then we turned around and sold the property. So, I mean, that's a very distinct possibility here. I think we've got a lot of options. I just don't think we don't know exactly which road to take right now, but from my perspective, there's multiple benefits to it. So I'm just sharing that with you. You vote the way you want. I'm not necessarily trying to talk you into it, but that's the way I see it anyway.
That's okay. Thanks. No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, then just for clarity, because we're on Zoom, why don't I ask the clerk on this particular MO to do it with a roll call vote? It's not required, but I think it would be helpful for clarity. So would you mind doing that, Tracy?
No, sir. Mrs. Hambrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hampton,
Yes.
Mr. Lesby,
Yes.
Mrs. Lesby Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sines,
No.
Mr. Showalter,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Ms. Tackett,
Yes.
7-1.
Thank you, Tracy. The next item, rather than a municipal order, is the resolution approving the sidewalk cost share program. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Thank you, Tammy.
Second, Mayor.
Greg beat you by a split second, Connie. He was.
You go, Greg.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions about the sidewalk repair?
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the process if the homeowner cannot afford to do the 50% of the repair? What then happens? Are they fined, or what's the process?
Well, our code of ordinances places the burden of sidewalk maintenance on the property owner. So unfortunately, I don't know that there's an answer. If they can't afford the 50%, ultimately we will have to enforce this through code enforcement action, which we haven't been doing except in the most egregious of cases. So it probably would turn to code enforcement. But if there are property owners with some kind of a hardship, I don't know a creative way. I know from the city's perspective, we have to enforce that uniformly, and they would probably get a notice of violation at some point.
That's actually a really good question, Willow. We're trying to help people, but by putting the program in motion, we could run across those who cannot afford the half.
Mm-hmm. I think we will.
If we do, we do. We've done this program. I'm familiar with 2 other times that it was very similar to this, and it was very successful. I mean, it's a great question, and I don't know. You might just have to deal with each case individually.
And if a person has a plan, I mean, this is how we treat any code enforcement action generally. If a person has a plan for making the repairs and it's maybe going to take X amount of time for them to be able to come up with their portion. I mean, code enforcement in Eddie's office will be great at working with folks to get compliance. It's not, the goal is not to penalize anyone. The goal is just to get compliance. So we could certainly work with folks on a timeline perspective. But as it stands, our code places 100% of the burden on the property owner. So we would have to ultimately enforce through that process.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Deb. We've already identified a number of sidewalks that need attention. And we do every year, we check all the sidewalks. And that's kind of one of the things we do. And so this program would really be great to get some of these fixed.
So I do have a quick question that relates to that. We've identified some really bad situations. Are they automatically, I don't want to say automatically, but are we gonna ask them to fill out the application, or how will that part of it work? Because before, people they found out about it, they filled out an application, and they kind of got in line as they filled out the application.
Right. And the way that we are going to approach it to start is that we're going to take, I think, probably the top 100 offending properties. And I've got a form letter drafted that will kind of put them on notice that this program is available. And it'll also put them on notice that if they don't take advantage of the program or hire their own contractor and get the required permits, they're going to face code enforcement action. So it's we're kind of just picking those top offenders, but anybody else who applies most certainly will get the funding as it's available. So, and that's the guidelines clarify that too, you know, as funding is available in order of applications received. So, so to answer your question, both applications accepted, but we'll be proactive to notify some folks.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up question to David's question? When will that form letter, Devin, when will that actually start being mailed out?
My goal would be within the next 2 weeks. I need to work with Eddie on finalizing the program guidelines. Like I said earlier, just because he's from the engineering perspective can be more specific about what kind of sidewalks would need to be remedied. So my goal would be to finish that with him this week and maybe end of next week, get those letters out.
Thank you. Any other questions on the resolution? Did we have a motion? We did have a motion. Thank you. With
I would just like
help
to
from my
say,
friends, I get through the council meetings.
I have something to say about that. I do appreciate that the work has been done on this because it was a problem that was brought to my attention on numerous occasions. Someone had actually fallen on Main Street and had a few injuries. And I know that these kinds of things need to be fixed. And the fact that we're going to help people to pay for something, we don't have to do that. But I also know that when we know about a situation where someone is in violation and we don't require that it's fixed, that we put ourselves in jeopardy as well. So I really appreciate that we've put this program together. I think it's great. And I look forward to you all sending those letters out and getting this going on that. I've had people call back and ask what we're doing when their injuries happened, you know, over a year ago. So thank you.
Good. If there are no further questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. That carries. That gets us down to the council comment portion of the agenda. Tracy, have I missed anything? Just council comment. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go through the screen as I usually do. Willow, may we start with you tonight?
Sure. I just want to compliment the mayor on all the work that went into the speech that highlights our city. So we appreciate all your efforts along those lines. I enjoyed celebrating Tree Week. I'm always glad to add more oxygen to the environment. I did have a couple of people call me about concerns, especially for people who have walkers it seems like the temporary lines for the way that the cars will be parked at an angle on Main Street seem smaller than they did in the past. And I have even tried myself to get into one of those parking spaces. Have we made them a bit smaller? Ann Hall was trying to maneuver her way into one, and some other people. I know it could be a state. I don't know who's in charge of making those lines if it's a state highway, but there is some concern that the spaces are too narrow, especially up towards the intersection. Not as much. They seem larger somehow as you go down.
Well, I'm not aware that there was any intention that those be changed in any way, but I have heard your comment from other folks that seem to feel the same way. It is and was a state project, but maybe we could ask Eddie to do some measuring and check some specs and get with District 7 and get back to us with a report on just how those came to be the way they are and if they're going to stay that way.
Okay, thank you.
So those are angled parking spaces. The final striping has not been put down.
Correct.
So what is up there is just chalked, basically the guys who do the work chalked, about where the lines need to be so people could be directed temporarily to get into those spaces. I'll go out and do some measuring because since they're at 30-degree angle, that parking, sometimes they can mismeasure by accident just due to the angle, the geometry. So I'll check that and I guess get back with everybody.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Once the lines become permanent, it's a little harder to fix things. And then just a quick update. I know that on August 9th, we got the plan for establishing the best uses of the ARPA funds. And I know that there's no hurry and that we have a lot of options. Every time we meet, there are more and more ways that we can use these funds. But I do think it would be good to update the plan that we were given. For instance, phase 1 was public input August 9th through October 31st, including distributing public information, public survey, public hearing, staff report. And I'm not bothered that we're behind in the rollout, but I do think in fairness for the public to know what's coming, we should amend this calendar.
That's a good point, Willow. We are several weeks behind, so I'm happy to make that update.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially if that one has a expected end date of the end of October, we better get busy. But we better get busy with the revision of the schedule, it sounds like. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, Willow?
That's all, thanks.
All right. Hey, Todd.
Yes, sir. First off, I want to say you did a great job with your speech. A lot of information put out there and a lot of people were very well received with that. We did have a Public Works Committee meeting this morning, Robert, Greg, and myself, and wanted to let everybody know that anybody that sees any potholes or has any issues with potholes, contact Public Works, let them know about it so they can get that done. There is some issues with getting blacktop right at this time because of the work on the interstate, but Robert is going to get a list together and try to get those done as soon as possible. He said the front wheel loader is in. They're just waiting on the radio to put it into use. Hopefully it will not get used for salt this year. Don't think that's going to happen, but if the predictors are right, the leaf vac will be in, the new one will be in mid-November. So Robert says that there's lots of projects, even if everything goes as planned and we move through with the new with Republic. He still has lots of projects going on to work on. So he and his crew are really busy right now, especially still mowing and everything else they got going on. But other than that, that's all I've got.
Sounds good. Thank you, Todd. Any questions for Todd? All righty. Thank you. Connie.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say, I'm sorry I missed that today. I had to be another place today. Couldn't get out of it, but I heard it was really good. So congratulations. And thanks for keeping Halloween on October the 31st. I had several people call and, they were wanting to make it like the last Saturday of October and all of that. So thanks for keeping it on the 31st. Other than that, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Tammy.
I did want to say something about the event last Friday, the South Sewer groundbreaking. That was a great event for the community, and Chase, Mayor, County Judge, the Governor, everybody did a great job, and it made me really proud to be a part of a project that's been a long time coming. So congratulations on that. And I did enjoy the State of the City address this afternoon. Well done.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna, the way the screen sometimes messes me up. Greg?
Thanks, Mayor. Just to echo Todd's comments on the Public Works Committee this morning. Doing good work there. Commend Robert on everything he's doing there, and just good job on the address this morning. State of the City, really enjoyed it, and that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. David?
Mayor, likewise, State of the City and the South Sewer presentation, both were outstanding. Both very informative too, by the way. It's, even though we're involved in this with you, you can always learn something when you're sitting there and kind of listening to what's going on. So I appreciate all of that. One thing I didn't ask about earlier, and I don't know if we have an answer to it yet, but I know we were going to check with our insurance provider and see what a risk manager might be able to save us. If we don't have that information, I guess I'd still like to know what that might look like. I know tonight we passed an amended budget, and several of those things are going to come back to us, at a later time and date, for actual approval, but just curious about that.
David, we are still waiting on that information from our insurance representatives. So we will have that for you before we bring that position to you in personnel ordinance.
Okay, well, thank you. And then I was going to say, I was out of town down in Florida last week, and I was walking, which I did every morning. And these guys with the local municipality were out grinding on the sidewalks. They had their grinding machine, and they were fixing rough edges on sidewalks. And I'd seen the pattern a few days, but our paths finally did cross, and they were making improvements to the sidewalk. I guess it was a machine that Public Works had, or whatever the case may be. But anyway, I certainly commend you, Mayor, and your staff on getting that program up and going. I know it's going to be beyond a success and be very helpful to the community. So thank you for that as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, David. Mark?
Yeah, I would just agree with Mr. Lusby that the presentation today at lunch was very informative, and you and your staff did an outstanding job there. So, but I've got one comment to make.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, in looking at my screen, David is on the left and Karen is back on the right again.
Ta-da!
Thank you, Mark. Always right with the world. Oh, Karen, that's a perfect segue into your
That's
comment.
right. Thank you, Mark, for noticing that. Mayor, I just want to say, sorry, I did not make it to your State of the City address. I know that's an important event to do, and the community looks forward to it. So I'm hearing everybody said you did a wonderful job. I know that puts a lot into it to get to that point. But other than that, I don't have anything in particular. I sent a couple of shots to you and some texts with some pictures, and you all have been on it to take care of it. So I appreciate that. So that's it.
All right, good meeting. Appreciate your all's work tonight. And if there's nothing else to come before the council, then we will stand adjourned. Good night,
all.
Good night, everybody.
Good
All right.
evening.
Good night.